All right. Okay. Let's get the stretch. Let's just stretch it out a little bit. It's Monday. Okay. Let's, you guys ready? Are we ready? We got the green light? We got the green light. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Yo! Woo. What's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans, SEC fans everywhere? Welcome to the one and only Pig Trail Network. Thank you so much for stopping by. I know this is a little bit earlier than usual. Now, before anyone starts asking about the shades, that's just Friday's show, okay? That's just for Friday. That's just for the Friday live stream. I wish I could wear them all the time, but they're so epic. I'm forced to only wear them on Fridays, on the live shows for the Flamingo Friday shows. That is. So much has happened. My goodness, Hunter Yurachek, Sam Pittman had plenty to say. Well, I say plenty. They said plenty in tweets, and it was terrific. Donald Trump weighed in on college football. And everything is on fire. Everything is on fire. That's what's going on. So, thank you guys again for being here. Remember to like. If you have any questions, please do so. Ask away. Questions, comments, whatever. Just do your thing. If you haven't already, feel free to tap the subscribe button. I know this is a little bit earlier than normal. I've got too much going on today that I've got to get done. The Monday shows are the scheduling is crazy, and Thursday we record. That's typically when Kyle and I record the Hog Talk podcast for the Friday show, and that day is going to be affected. My kids' baseball and everything. So far, Springdale hasn't canceled these activities. I'm just waiting for it. So let me get caught up in chat. Madison Feltz, yeah. So I YouTube has changed their format a little bit. So when you go to make a new live stream, you got to be careful because if you click too quick, it'll post the former title to the last live stream. So I had to go back and change that. That's not the discussion. I apologize. That's not the title. It was actually meant to be for what Sam Pittman and Hunter Yurachek had to say today, which I thought was it was important, and I'm so glad they were the first two that I know of Power 5 coaches and athletic directors to come out and do anything and say anything publicly on Twitter today after it had been rumored that the NCAA that the Big Ten and the PAC were going to cancel the season. So that's why everything's on fire right now. That's what Donald Trump commented on today. Anytime you get the president, it was already a big deal before Donald Trump got involved. And then he got involved, and yeah. I mean, what else happens? People that love him latched on, people that hate him latched on, and then it's crazy. What a world. What a crazy, terrible year 2020 is. I don't have to tell you that, though. You know that. So, yeah, Patreon supporters, thank you guys so much. My gosh, you guys came through big time last week. To the PayPal supporters, my goodness, Tommy Lewis. I don't really like calling out names publicly unless you give me the okay, but Tommy has donated before. Really appreciate him. All my settings here on my stand are all wacky here. Had a crazy weekend. So hope you guys had a great weekend. But again, thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you to the Patreon supporters. You're the best. No, that wasn't my best Trump impersonation. Okay. And we have YouTuber Trump in the comments as well, so I'm sure he's caught up on all things what Trump had to say today. So, okay, before we get into that, let's touch on the thing that we have completely overlooked or we were excited for about an hour over the weekend, and that's the 2021 basketball commit. A big-time commit, by the way, out of McKern, Georgia, or Powder Springs, Georgia. A guard, 6'6", 6'5", about 200 pounds, Chance Moore. This kid is an ESPN top 50 prospect. On 247, he's like the number 83 prospect. He's, I think, about everywhere. You're talking about a top 100 player. This is a huge get, and Musselman obviously flexing the NBA muscles. He's flexing the NBA muscles. I think was it today where he was wearing all the Golden State swag for practice. How about that? But what a get. Chance Moore is huge. It's a big-time pickup for Razorback basketball for that 2021 class. Don't ask me on scholarships and everything. I'm not even there yet. What the distribution is going to look like for 2021? If I had to guess, they're not going to have a whole lot of room to take on. It depends. If we have a season, or if we don't have a season, and these kids opt out and decide to go pro, who God only knows what things are going to look like this time next year. Getting into October, November, obviously, where things are at with COVID. But Chance Moore is a big-time get. Like, again, we briefly talked. I think we briefly mentioned him a couple times in the Hog Talk. I haven't listened to today's episode, but that episode is available for you guys. You can check that out. There's a link provided free down below. Shout out to Kyle and Kevin Bohannon and Porter and those guys doing a good job on the Monday show. But yeah, Chance Moore. Chance Moore is a big time get. I'm sure they mentioned Chance Moore on today's episode. Oh, I don't even know where to begin. So much has happened. Move the games to New Zealand. They no longer have COVID there. From Fayetteville today, Robert. You're in the Holy Land. Fayetteville is the Holy Land, my friend. Football cures COVID, by the way, Jim Pepper says. Okay. Nate Dogg, no, we just got started, brother. Okay. So, let's get on to Twitter really quick. What all happened? What happened with... let's start off first with Sam Pittman. Boom. Sam Pittman had that to say, and of course I didn't. Let me zoom. I want to blow this thing up. Look at that. The way our student athletes have handled these uncertain times is incredible, and our staff is so proud of them. As the head coach of the Razorback football, hashtag we want to play. Maybe that should have been on the, we want to play. So there's that. He wants to play. All right? Why wouldn't he? And here's the thing. I'll leave that up there for you guys, and I'll pull up Hunter's here in just a second, what Hunter had to say. Think about this. And we mentioned this on Twitter today, and several people have. I can't remember who there were some other people that had mentioned this, but Arkansas was gifted the worst schedule I've ever seen, just period. Like that, this schedule, even before the 10-game, proposed 10 SEC game only schedule, you already had a tough schedule because you had Notre Dame. That by itself was incredibly tough. And that was on the road, too. That wasn't in Fayetteville. Not that it really matters, but, I mean, Notre Dame is some think they're a playoff contender, but, they say that about every year with Notre Dame. And hats off to them. They're a fantastic program. Okay, they're fantastic. The Fighting Irish up there. But so you've got this. So that's another top. What are they ranked? I forgot what they were in the coaches. They're top 10, were they not? Top 12? So you had that game. So now that schedule, we knew that wasn't going to happen. Okay, we knew that wasn't going to happen. And then then the SEC says, okay, here's the 10 conference game only schedule, and it's a damn nightmare. So much so that I'm in here cracking up. At first, my first reaction to that schedule was, oh my God, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. That can't be real. If the first thing I saw, I was at a Walgreens and someone had screenshotted the schedule and sent it to me. And I looked at that and I was like, yeah, okay, someone photoshopped this. They're not going to play Florida and Georgia, get real. And then it was confirmed, and I confirmed it on Twitter, and I had to run in here and put together a show in a matter of like 10 minutes with this information being fresh, and then get everything going and in order to go live at a decent time. So here's this awful schedule, and Hunter Yurachek and Sam Pittman. Here's Sam Pittman. And again, I'm leaving it there for you guys. Bring it on. We want to play. If that doesn't embody the Razorback spirit, I don't know what does. We have a chip on our shoulder, and this is the thing that you have to love. This is what I love about Sam Pittman. He gets the culture here. Would Chad Morris have done that? No. And I don't care how good he was on social media. I don't care how good that staff, and they were. I'll give them credit. They were good on social media. They were good on staying on top of kids and everything. But even when it came to looking tough, that guy sucked. Go further back. Brett Bielema. Would he have done something like that? No. No, he would not. No, I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if by now Chad Morris has posted something like "Let him play," because now it's trendy, right? Like now everybody's doing it. But I mean, Sam Pittman and Hunter Yurachek were like that with it. They were there. They were like, "Bring it on, baby. We'll take it." And I had stated before, and now maybe this was on a podcast, I can't remember, that when Hunter Yurachek had gone to Greg Sankey with the, we've played a tough schedule. Just keep that in mind. We already had a tough schedule. We've won 2 games the last 2 seasons. We're rebuilding. Keep that in mind. I didn't really like that. Like that, come on, man. Just whatever they give you. But then again, Hunter Yurachek must have known something that I didn't know. Because what did they do? They turn around and they slap you in the face with the most difficult schedule of all time. And again, I don't care. Preseason ranks, I don't know. Some of you guys probably don't know my opinion on this because it's been a while since I've talked about preseason ranks. I hate preseason polls. I think they're terrible. I think preseason, it's good for recognition. It's a part of the pageantry of college football, but it's just, I hate preseason polls. And usually they're at least 60% accurate, 75% accurate, but still, you still just never really know until you hit the field, until you're 2 or 3 games in, which is why I never had a problem with playing non-P5 schools at the beginning of the year either. Get you some time to warm up. But anyways, Hunter Yurachek and Sam Pittman were willing to take this on. As far as I know, he was the first athletic director to come out and have anything to say about it. Let's pull up what he had to say. We'll take Pittman's down. Here's what Yurachek, and we'll blow his up too here. On behalf of Razorback football team, that includes my son, by the way, as he's saying here, and each of the Razorback student athletes that I represent, serve, support, care for, fight for, and love, # we want to play. I love this. I love this. I love it. I love it. Let me pull that back there. You guys, have you ever seen Super Troopers, where he's typing enhance? Okay, anyways, it's a great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen Super Troopers, do yourself a favor. If you don't like swear words and naughty words and rated R humor and fart and butt humor, you probably won't like it. Super Troopers is golden. But I love that they did this. I love that Hunter Yurachek and Sam Pittman stepped out in front of this thing, and they're like, you know what, bring it on. We want to play. We want to play the schedule as it is. Let's go. Let's go. They put out a statement, and I don't have it, but, basically saying, we're going to accept that schedule, and we're going to play it because that's what we do. That's the Razorback spirit. And, I've said this as long as born and raised in Fayetteville, Arkansas, been around the state. I have family in Madison County. I have family in down in Little Rock, all over Washington County, born and raised. There's just something about Arkansans. We just have this chip on our shoulders. Bring it on, man. We're just tough SOBs. We just don't care. Bring it on. Bryce Mitchell, baby. We're from Arkansas. Anytime you put a microphone in my face, I'm going to yell Arkansas. That's just how we are down here. And I love that they're putting that out there. Here it is. We're going to play it. We want to play. Bring it on. I love it. So then, later on, and this isn't El Presidente, this is the president. He says this. The student athletes have been working too hard for their season to be canceled. # we want to play. And, of course, that just caused college football Twitter's already been an absolute dumpster fire over the weekend. I shouldn't say dumpster fire, but, when it becomes political. It was already political, and then Trump got involved, and it just got worse. You mean Shenanigans? What's the place with all the goofy shit on the walls? Farva. I love that movie. You mean Shenanigans? Yeah. So I look. I don't know if we're gonna have a season. I really don't. It looks like the SEC. If I was a betting man, I would say that the SEC is going to be the last guy standing. They're going to fight to the end. It's our sport down here, man. The South, like, you're not taking away our sports in general. Would they fight as hard for basketball? Probably not. Baseball, maybe. Maybe. They didn't at the time, but it was so new, back in March. And we didn't really understand. Now that we have somewhat of an understanding of it, maybe not as much as football. Let me be clear. Not as much as football, but maybe as much as as basketball. And you got to think about how distant basketball and football are in terms of importance to fans anywhere, not just the South. Football and basketball are just so far up there. But for the SEC, baseball's really important down here. So, yeah, there's what a day. We already play a SEC West schedule, so they take two teams from the East. Well, Antonio, the second part of what you said there is why that YouTube comment won't go through. I apologize, but no comment. Jared Fountain, I know this is completely off topic, but Paul Feinbaum is really bad at his job. Paul Feinbaum wasn't he, and he had a guest on today. I don't remember who it was. They were saying that football should be canceled. I believe that's been Paul Feinbaum's stance for a while, to cancel the football season. Look, I don't know if that's maybe that's his conviction there. I don't know. That's the hill he wants to die on. That's fine. That's his opinion. I respect Paul Feinbaum in the position that he's in. My gosh, he's at the top of Mount Everest, with the SEC network and doing what he does. He's done it for a while. We know his history. I just have to disagree with him on this. I think the opportunities, just Joe Burrow tweeted today and said something to the effect, and I don't have the tweet in front of me, but he said something to the effect of, I hate it for these guys. If this were happening this time last year, I'd be working like a full-time job. It's something to that extent instead of being a first-round draft pick. This is going to have a really awful effect across not just college football, but all of athletics from high school on up to college. Now, the NFL, they're going to be covered. I think I saw somewhere where they're going to give these guys, if they opt out, they're going to get some money. They can opt out. And I have a feeling, and what we're seeing across college football, and you're starting to see this trend a little bit more, and I think that if they do end up canceling the season, they're going to allow these kids to hang on to their offers, to their scholarships. But what this does for high school kids and college kids, I'm not talking about the 4-star, 5-star prospects that everyone knows, in prominent states like Texas. But there's little dogs in Texas too. Like, these are guys that are fighting to get some form of partial scholarship to Texas Southern, right? There's guys trying to get some sort of scholarship offer, to get some kind of tuition paid for from North Texas, the team that kicked Arkansas's ass in Fayetteville. The effect that this is going to have from high school, and I think Paul Feinbaum's against it in high school too. I don't think he wants any sports, any contact sports. But this is going to have a huge negative effect across from high school to college. You got guys that are really holding on. They want the opportunity to get drafted. And if you're a D1, especially a D1 Power 5 football player, have you ever watched Last Chance U? Honest to God question. Have you ever watched Last Chance U? If you haven't, it's and I'm sure most of you have, but for the 5 of you that haven't, that's JUCO football, and you're so far away from the NFL. And granted, some of these kids at one point in time in their high school career were highly sought after, and that's not the case for even the ones who weren't rated, believe they're NFL prospects. And maybe they are. I don't know. There were 2 in this last season that I looked them up. They're not even rated on 247. They're not rated on JUCO. Like, these aren't kids, and I'm not going to, like, I went through that season so fast, I'm having a hard time remembering all their names. It's what happens when you binge watch in, like, a couple of days. You forget everybody's names. But these kids are not, they're not even Division I players, and they think that they're built for the NFL. But you're robbing them of that, even that opportunity, by not having football. Now, JUCO has announced they're gonna have their season next spring. And that's the next thing that's on. That's going to be, if they cancel this season, that's the next conversation. That's the next part of this conversation, is moving it to the spring. I have a really hard time seeing them doing that, and I don't think it's a good idea, because the amount of games that you're going to play in that little a time. Okay, you're going to have, let's assume they do a 10-game schedule in during springtime. Think about the recovery time. Think about the typical off-season, the way you carry yourself as a program throughout the offseason, the steps, the workouts, the rest, the camping, the spring. What are you going to do about spring camp? Well, you're going to have to push that into June probably. And then you're going to have to push your other part of your camps probably further back. God only knows how the NCAA, assuming they're still around this time next year. I mean, it's almost like, it's just crazy, the amount of change that I think is going to happen. The landscape will never be the same. But you have to push everything back if you go into spring ball. And you're going to play, I don't know how many games. Let's go to their 10-game schedule. So you're going to play, 22 games in the matter of 6 months? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. The NCAA won't do that. So how does that affect the next season? Do you push that next season back a couple of months? Well, now you're pushing everything back again on through Christmas, and now you're going to have to deal with signing. The signing periods are going to change. If this all means everything gets pushed back a little bit, that's probably not a huge deal, but I think it's going to be bigger than that. I think it's going to be a much bigger deal if you don't have a season this year. If you cancel the season, it's like you just get lost in that line of thought. Like, what could really happen? What's the next thing? And it's I don't want to say terrifying, because I'm not really risking anything. I'm not playing. I'm not a coach. I'm not a recruit. I'm not an NFL talent scout. Like, this has no effect on me other than what I do here. And I'll be able to adjust, I hope. The Hog Talk, all of us at the Hog Talk, we'll be able to adjust. But for those players, the athletes, the coaches, the way how everything has been so unorthodox, the change it's already been affected. Like, we know that. Even with just the 10-game schedule, that's going to have the implications down the line are going to be far different. How do you manage the playoffs? Are you going to have playoffs? How do they handle the bowl situation if you have a season? Right now, I'm about 90. I believe the pendulum has swung into the opposite direction entirely, and I truly don't think we have a season. It seems like everything, if you follow RJ Young on Twitter, I know he got really political there for a while. We talked about that here. And he really, like, a lot of people got turned off on what he was saying. But if you follow what he's been saying, there's probably, in terms of, and he's not an amateur anymore. Like, he works for some .com sites, and he's got the podcast. He does, the guy, who RJ Young is, and he's an OU guy. He's very well connected, and everyone he has talked to has told him they don't feel like the season's coming. And no, I don't think they all have an agenda. No, I don't think this is a bunch of liberal Democrats trying to cancel football just to cancel football. I'm sure there's some politicking going on here. I do believe that there are forces that are not really working with the president. I do believe that the way things have been covered by the media have been atrocious. I do think that there's things that we also have to understand and take serious. And I think that, again, a lot of these guys, hell, I'll tell you, the guys that I've talked to aren't even politically active. And some of the guys that have been mentioned along, the guys that have been talking outside of Clay Travis and outside of Fox Sports, I don't think any of them, the ones that I have seen anyways, and I know the ones that kind of have some sort of political motivation. Look at Herb Street. Okay, I would venture to believe that he's probably of the conservative mindset. He's talked about family values and that sort of stuff before. He's kind of slightly, but he never goes too far to get into actual politics. And he said 2 months ago he didn't think there would be a football season. So I don't know. Are there people in the media that are trying so hard to work against Trump and they want to push a certain narrative? Yeah, there are, and I'm not denying that. But I think that there are also people out there that have said, no, I don't think there's going to be a season, that are not politically active, that don't get into that. They don't go down that rabbit hole. They just think this is what they know, and this is them talking to ADs. Today was crazy because you had ADs pushing. It sounded like the Big Ten was not going to, like they were done. They were going to cancel today. Now the rumor is tomorrow. And that was being pushed to people in the media today. And it turns out there was some accuracy to that. So hang on. This week is going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be nuts. I'm going to do my best to try and keep up with it. All I can tell you is don't get overly emotional. You know, don't throw your phones against any walls. Don't kick over your laptops. Don't, it's going to be, I really feel like the odds are high right now that they're going to cancel football. Trevor Lawrence took to I love what Trevor Lawrence is doing, quarterback for Clemson. You know, he kind of started this whole thing about we want to play, and he went on a little bit of a I don't want to say a rant, but he took to Twitter and kind of created a little let us play thread, and I retweeted that. I think that was that today or was that yesterday? Maybe that was yesterday. You can go follow it and go check it out on Twitter. Just type Trevor Lawrence's name in, or you can follow me on Twitter, or I think Hog Talk. Maybe we retweeted it there too. Maybe not. But I like that these players are putting up. They're putting up they've got a stance, and it's that they want to play. Maybe that has an effect on these ADs and these conferences and these guys that held all the positions of power among all these conferences. I don't know. I was a little surprised that the Big Ten today. It sounded like they were gun-ho on canceling the season today before the Pac. Because I said that last week, the Pac is probably going to be the first to do something crazy. You know, those kids out there on the left coast, man, I don't know what to tell you. They're just, I don't want to say entitled or anything. But all kids today, though, are, right? All kids are today. Yeah, so and the only reason why I bring up the agenda stuff is because we've seen that across social media. Jacob Davis, our former Monday host, posted something about what Donald Trump had said and on Facebook. And the comments, it's like there's just this overwhelming bias to not have football. And maybe there is some of that. But I do think that I don't know where the concern comes from, because I think you could protect your conference in the NCAA from any liability. I've never heard of, not to say that it won't happen, I've never heard of, I'm going to sue you because I caught the flu at your restaurant or your place of business. I don't know how do you pinpoint where you caught the flu? And the same thing happens with COVID. It's so widespread, and it's spread so much easier. God only knows. So I don't understand if it's a liability factor with these conferences, then there's something real simple you could do. It's called a waiver. You give these kids the option. Hey, look, if you don't want to play, fine. We'll hold on to your scholarship, but that means you're going to retract. You're not going to be a part of the team, period, until you're done, until the season's over with, until the off-season officially begins, assuming they have a year. Again, we're in our fantasy world where we actually have college football, where we have these 10-game schedules starting whenever. But you give them the option. You erase the probability of being held liable. And, you can let them talk it over with their families and say, if you want to opt out, we'll hang on to your scholarship. We'll honor it and go from there. This is such a complicated, crazy issue. I hate that and I've said this so many times. I absolutely hate that every time I get behind a microphone, I have to talk about it. You have to, because it's controlled. COVID-19 has been it's been devastating, right? Like in terms of the economy, the world economy, how it's just screwed everything up, And of course, there's other people are actually getting it and dying from COVID, and that's awful. And we've talked about that a million times. That's a certain who's at a higher risk? Someone who's in their 70s, not in good health, pre-existing like conditions, things that are pretty serious. People with real bad diabetes, people with heart conditions, and all sorts of different things. But those people, yeah, they should absolutely, they should be in their homes. And if they go out, they should absolutely wear a mask. But I think as long as you socially distance, as long as you take the proper precautions, I don't see why not. And these kids, they're in such a different, a younger demographic. The odds of them getting it, yeah, they'll probably get it, but the odds of them actually suffering from it, having any long-term issues from it, or dying from it are just really, really, really low. Yeah, I think you could erase all liability by just adding a waiver. Hey, you can sit the year out. We'll gladly honor your scholarship and move on from there. There's too much money involved with football. They're not going to cancel it. Tanya, the Big Ten was supposedly had done that already. Mr. TW says if they send these kids home, they're not doing it for what's best. A lot of kids go home to inner cities that are burning and with rampant violence. They have little to no health care or nutritional oversight. Our university, and this is a quote, our university is committed to playing no matter what. That looks like, I need to wear my glasses. We want to play no matter. Oh yeah, you're quoting Scott Frost, yeah, from Nebraska. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. We want to play in the Big Ten, but if we can't, we will look for other options. But we will play. I don't even know how you do that. At what point do you lose power as a conference? At what point? The NCAA, and you guys have said it in chat. I have said it here. The guys on Hog Talk have said it. The conferences hold the power in terms of the conference versus the NCAA. I truly don't know. I'm lost when it comes to the needs of the NCAA and sticking with the NCAA. I don't know what that has to do with. I don't understand it. You pay the NCAA a licensing fee, like on all your merchandise that causes the price of merch to go up because of the licensing fee. Maybe that's where it comes from. The NCAA spreads that wealth among all the universities. I really don't understand it. That's out of my realm of expertise. But what I don't understand is and I don't know if that's true, but you've got these individual universities that are opting to play in the SEC, and they want to play in the SEC. I think Ohio State players were saying that today on Twitter, that they wanted to play in the SEC. If that's an actual possibility, do conferences have absolutely no power over any one program? Like, can Arkansas just straight up, yeah, I'm going to play the Big 12 schedule this year? I'm sure there's some form of you're going to break. What's the word I'm looking for? My brain feels a little fried right now. Contract. There's some form of contractual obligation that you have to uphold. So maybe by doing that, you're then kicked out. So if Nebraska is able to do that, and that quote is true, if they are able to do that and they play another schedule, does the Big Ten boot them out of the conference? How exactly that works, I'm not really sure. Michael Simmons says, way to go, Coach Frost. MAC already canceled. The MAC did cancel. And there have been rumors that the Sun Belt is next. You know how much money is involved with football, millions and millions of dollars. They will not cancel. They canceled March Madness. Think about the money in March Madness. They could absolutely cancel football. They could. I mean, that's people that are way more dialed in, that have been in national media saying that this is absolutely a possibility. I know how much. Yes, I'm very well aware of how much money is in college football, but they didn't even flinch at canceling March Madness, and that was at the very beginning when we really didn't know what we were in for. So yeah, I'm sorry, Tanya. I think they absolutely could. The SEC might be the last conference standing. I don't know. I'm a little late. How dare you? So we started early. Today. Like I said, I had a lot going on. Time to get rid of the NCAA, in my opinion. I don't disagree. I don't know what they're there for. Why are we here? Someone's going to have to explain that to me. Tanya also says, and if they do anything, it will help Arkansas because we keep all of our scholarships, probably. Yeah, I'm not even crossing that bridge yet in terms of scholarship distribution, how that's all going to get handled. It's a mess, and it's like the world's most complicated. No, it's not a chess game. It's like it's trying to put pieces to a puzzle together that you don't have all the pieces, or like all the puzzle pieces are like reflective. Like almost like you're looking into a mirror. You really don't know. Like there's no graphic or art. You're just trying to piece this thing together, and you have no idea what the future holds with COVID-19. And unfortunately, right now, that's what they're going to have to continue to monitor and navigate is along with how things are happening and reacting with COVID. And I had said several months back in May, that if we had a huge spike like we did, and we had a big spike, what was that, late last month is when they got hit real hard, not just Arkansas, but in the country. Like the numbers weren't really going down. They weren't dipping in terms of people becoming infected with COVID. So we had a spike, and at least it didn't go down. So I had a feeling that the NCAA, there's just this voice in the back of my mind that was telling me that the NCAA is going to overreact to this. It wouldn't surprise me that something happens with the scheduling, and here we are. And so things have gotten so just crazy with all this that there's no plan on the table. We have no plan of action on the table from the NCAA still, or from these conferences. And the SEC, I guess, had held an impromptu meeting, and we're still waiting on what that was all about. And I don't know how legit that was. I think SDS had reported that, Saturday Down South or somebody. It sucks. Like I said, this is not what I envisioned ever talking about on a sports YouTube channel or on a podcast. Unfortunately, here we are. None of us are experts. I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be. I have no idea what's going to happen next. I do feel like college football's on its last legs right now for 2020. If they do decide for spring ball, then we'll just have to slowly pick that apart, figure out the pros and cons of it, and move on with it. I don't think it's a good idea. But at that point, hell, I may be happy just to have football altogether. I don't know. We should sacrifice this weird, wacky football schedule and everything for Arkansas basketball. At least that looks like it has a good future. It wouldn't surprise me if they ultimately cancel football. We should sacrifice this weird, wacky football schedule and I see what you're saying. Sacrifice it for basketball? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. I need some clarification on that. Tato31 says, we was going to suck year one under Pittman anyway, so I'm kind of indifferent on college football being played now. Isn't that the truth? And that's what I said about this impossible schedule. Like, bring it on. At least it's year one. Everyone's going to understand you going 1-9, 0-10 with that schedule. That's ridiculous. I am also psyched for basketball. I couldn't agree more. I hope we have a basketball season. You know what? In all honesty, I would be absolutely happy with no fans available at the games. I'd be happy with that. I'd be fine with it. It'd be different. It would suck. You see how the NBA games are just, and I know not everyone's NBA fans in the chat, but they're just not real exciting. And that would be college basketball. That would be college basketball. What you're seeing unfold in the NBA, it'd be the same thing with college basketball. Just younger guys, less drama queens, less flopping. No, there's still a lot of flopping in college basketball. What do you think of Pittman's CEO approach? What do you mean by CEO approach, though? What do you mean? Basically, I'm saying sacrifice football for basketball. Yeah, look, I get that. I just want football, though. I want football. And if that means you got to hold it off to spring, I think it's a bad idea. But at the same time, I'm happy to just have football. I don't know how you do that. I really don't. You're playing at least 20 games in the span of about 6 months, roughly, depending on when they actually started and finished the season. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I would take it. And that's assuming you can even have spring ball, right? But I don't know what you mean by Pittman's CEO approach. I don't know. I mean, Roger, you may have to clarify that before we sign off. But I want to thank you guys. This was early. I know not everyone like this kind of popped up out of nowhere. We typically go a little bit later. All right, gotta go. Have a great day. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. You have a good day too. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. Feel free to share it. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys. Stay cool out there. I think it's supposed to be hot and rainy up here in NWA this week. Pulling up my. Oh no! Now it's saying less bad weather. Okay. Yesterday it said we're going to have all bad weather, so it's going to be low 90s all week up here in NWA. So you guys try to stay cool and stay hydrated. If they did it, would start the Saturday after the Super Bowl, says Gavin. So you're talking about the regular season for college football. Sure. Okay. I take it. You go from ending the NFL season, again, assuming you would have a Super Bowl. Now, if you don't have a Super Bowl, if you don't have the season for the NFL, do you start a little sooner? About the time typically when the playoffs would – well, no. No, you would start later still, I think. So, all right. Again, you guys, thank you so much, Patreon and PayPal supporters. I appreciate each and every one of you, all you guys who showed up today in the chat. I love you all. Let's see. It seems to me he hired coordinators. Where'd it go? Well, it got your message. Oh, you must have deleted it. Okay. Let's just schedule a home-and-home with UCA, Arkansas State, and University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. I'm not against that either. I'd take it. Play your in-states and only play that. And then watch Arkansas get kicked out of the SEC. Wouldn't that be wonderful? You played a schedule without scheduling any SEC opponents. How dare you? You're out. You're kicked out. Oh, well, I guess you got to go to the Big 12. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Again, I will see you. I'm planning on being live Friday. Like I always say, it's typically between 5 and 7 p.m. It may even actually be between 4 and 7 p.m. So just keep a lookout. Tap the notification bell for notifications. You're supposed to get notifications with or without the bell, but if you tap the bell, you're more than likely going to get that notification. So, yeah. Until then, whoop it.